U.S. President Trump has declared that the United States will impose a 100% tariff on imported semiconductor products, though he hasn't specified the details yet. This is one of those news stories that's both infuriating and almost comical. It's infuriating to see the United States swinging its tariff hammer with absolutely no restraint. And it's comical because the one getting smashed is, supposedly, one of its most loyal allies. Trump's tariff hammer has landed with precision accuracy on the Philippines, and the sheer brutality of it is jaw-dropping. Just a few days ago, the Trump administration shocked the world by slapping India with sky-high 50% tariffs on its goods. Now they've dropped another bombshell. The U.S. will impose a 100% tariff on imported semiconductors. While the details are still pending, this thunderclap has already sent the Philippine semiconductor industry into an unprecedented panic. I can just imagine politicians and executives in Manila scrambling in their offices, hoping this is all just a big misunderstanding. The hilarious part is that they genuinely thought their relationship with the U.S. was somehow stronger than India's. So why the Philippines? Well, the data tells the whole story. According to the Philippine Statistics Authority, in 2024, the country's semiconductor and electronics exports reached a staggering $39.09 billion. That accounted for 53.4% of their total exports, more than half the country's entire export economy. And the United States is one of its most important markets. This pillar, which supports the nation's economic lifeblood, is now being cut off at the knees by Trump's 100% tariff. The consequences can't be described with a word like impact. This is a precision economic strike, and the goal isn't surgery, it's amputation. The reaction from the Philippine industry was swift and fierce, yet tinged with a sense of helplessness and powerlessness. Dan La Chica, the industry association president, stated bluntly, "This policy will be devastating and a severe blow to the country's core export industry." Devastating, severe blow. These words sound like the helpless cries of someone who's just been robbed by a bandit. They thought they were partners with the bandit, forgetting that in the bandit's eyes, you're always just the next target. Meanwhile, George Barcelon, president of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, cited the World Trade Organization's Information Technology Agreement to condemn the move. He argued that the semiconductor industry shouldn't bear such high and unreasonable tariffs. This is no longer just an economic issue. It's a complete breakdown of rules and fairness. But what do you expect from a country that believes in American exceptionalism and treats all international rules like scrap paper? It's like trying to reason with a bully. The more you talk, the more they think you're an easy target. So why is the Philippines so vulnerable? Lucio Pitlo III, a research fellow at the Asia-Pacific Pathways to Progress Foundation, pointed to a deeper pain point. In the global semiconductor supply chain, the Philippines is primarily engaged in lower value-added assembly and testing. This is a classic contract manufacturing economy. In plain English, they do the grunt work for others, earning pennies on the dollar. When the boss gets upset and decides he doesn't want to play with you anymore, your rice bowl gets smashed. Facing an extreme 100% tariff wall, the risk of industrial relocation skyrockets, and a massive number of jobs are now in jeopardy. This isn't just about corporate profits anymore. It's about the livelihoods of tens of thousands of families. It's tragic, yet infuriating. Infuriating because they knew they were in this weak position, yet they clung to the fantasy of American friendship. You have to admit, the shock and helplessness in the Philippines right now feels familiar. Just a few days ago, India, which fancies itself a special partner of the U.S., was publicly executed by Trump's 50% tariffs. Now, the Philippines, another ally, is facing a doubled and potentially fatal 100% hammer blow. This is like a public execution 2.0. They thought standing with America meant they were safe. Instead, they're being ruthlessly used as the chicken killed to scare the monkey. This whole episode reveals several cold, hard realities, and it's the loudest wake-up call for any nation still clinging to illusions. First, under America First, allies are also on the menu. Trump's trade war logic is simple and brutal. Anyone deemed to be taking advantage of America or harming American interests, whether rival or ally, will get the hammer. The experiences of India and the Philippines rip away the warm veneer of so-called special relationships. In the face of the iron law of America First, an ally's friendship and dependence can become the very vulnerability they can exploit. It means the more you depend on America, the more loyal you are, the higher the risk you'll be taken advantage of, because you have no leverage to fight back. Second, the weakest links in the global supply chain get hit first. Researcher Pitlow nailed it. Economies stuck in the low to mid end of the value chain, reliant on contract assembly, have the weakest risk resilience. The Philippine semiconductor industry is a textbook case. Trump's tariff hammer, while seemingly aimed at all semiconductor imports, is most lethal to countries like the Philippines that lack the moat of core technology. The shadow of industrial relocation is not an exaggeration. When American companies find that assembling in the Philippines is too expensive, they will shift their orders elsewhere without a second thought, leaving behind a hollowed-out Philippines. That is the cruel and unforgiving reality. Third, in the face of raw power, rules are meaningless. Chairman Barcelon brought up the WTO's Information Technology Agreement, once the cornerstone of global free trade in tech products. However, in the face of unilateralism and American exceptionalism, international rules appear incredibly fragile. When one of the biggest rule makers starts to wantonly break the rules, the appeals of smaller nations sound particularly feeble. It's like trying to use a broken umbrella in a hurricane. It only makes you look more ridiculous and helpless. Fourth, this is collateral damage in a great power conflict. The general analysis is that Trump's ultimate target is to kneecap China's semiconductor industry and curb its technological rise. However, when the city gates catch fire, the fish in the moat suffer. Southeast Asian countries like the Philippines, Malaysia, and Vietnam, which are deeply embedded in the global semiconductor supply chain, especially between the US and China, are bound to get caught in the crossfire. The pain of the Philippines is the unavoidable collateral damage of this great power game. They thought they were part of the game, only to find out they were just disposable pawns on the board. The Philippines is not oblivious to the danger. Researcher Pitlow has already urged the Manila government to immediately seek clarification from the US and fight for preferential tariffs or exemptions. This is their most urgent task. However, facing a Trump administration that wields tariffs as its primary weapon and repeatedly backstabs its allies, how much room for negotiation does the Philippines really have? How high are its chances of success? The answer is obvious, next to zero. All they can do now is pray that Trump has a moment of mercy and lets them off the hook. This act of pinning one's fate on the goodwill of another is the greatest tragedy of all. For the Philippines, this is a chilling wake-up call. An economic structure that is overly dependent on a single industry and a single market is extremely vulnerable amidst the tides of deglobalization and geopolitical conflict. Accelerating industrial and market diversification, though not achievable overnight, is the only path to survival. But do they have the courage to do it? I have my doubts. For all export-dependent economies in Southeast Asia and beyond, this is a case study written in blood. Trump's tariff hammer has no off-limits areas. Neither allied friendship nor international trade rules are protective talismans. The only way to weather the storm is to plan ahead, strengthen the resilience of your own industrial chains, and develop diverse markets. The fate of the Philippines once again proves a simple truth. Tying your economic lifeline to the goodwill or demand of another party, especially a superpower that practices unilateralism, is tantamount to dancing on the edge of a knife. When the America First bugle sounds, yesterday's ally can instantly become today's price to be paid. This 100% tariff hammer has hurt the Philippines, but more importantly, it has awakened all the bystanders who were still harboring illusions. On Trump's trade battlefield, there are no permanent allies, only permanent interests. And it's the smaller nations that often feel the biting cold first. It's time for the Philippines to do some deep soul searching, but I suspect they don't have time for that right now. They're too busy begging, pleading for mercy from a friend they thought they had. Is that picture ironic? I think it's the most vivid lesson for anyone who still believes the friendship of a great power is a shield. All right, that's all for today. What do you think about the Philippines situation? Do you see this as a sign of a new escalation in the global trade war? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.